was a cold and rainy night in the city. The streets were wet and empty, except for the sound of cars in the distance and the soft splash of water under shoes. Jake was walking home from his job at the repair shop. He was tired. His jacket was old and the rain was getting through, but he didn't care. He just wanted to go home, eat something warm and sleep, but something made him stop. There was a sound, a soft one. Not a cat, not a rat. It was like a whisper or a cry. He turned his head and looked into a dark alley between two buildings. Most people would have just walked past. Most people did. But Jake was not like most people. He stepped closer, squinting into the shadows. Then he saw her. At first he thought it was a lost child. Small, thin, shaking from the cold. But when she looked up at him, he saw her face. And it was not human. Her skin was a pale silver color, almost glowing in the dark. Her eyes were big, dark blue, with no white in them. Her hair was short and soft like silver threads. She looked scared. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and she held a piece of metal close to her chest like it was a toy or a shield. Jake didn't move. He didn't want to scare her. She looked weak, sick, and alone. Slowly, he took off his jacket and held it out. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't answer, just stared at him with those big, glowing eyes. After a moment, she reached out, very slowly, and touched the jacket. Then she pulled it around herself and curled up again. Jake sat on the ground near her, careful not to get too close. He took out the sandwich he didn't eat at lunch and placed it gently on the ground. She watched it like it might be dangerous. "You hungry?" he asked. She didn't speak, but after a few seconds she reached for the sandwich. Her fingers were long and thin, and they shook a little. She took a bite, then another. She ate fast, like she hadn't eaten in days. Jake didn't ask any more questions. He just sat there, with her in silence, letting the rain fall around them. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what she was, but he knew she was scared, and he couldn't just leave her there. After a while, she leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. She looked like she might fall asleep right there in the alley. Jake stood up. "Come on," he said gently. "You can't stay here. It's too cold." She opened her eyes and looked at him again. She didn't speak, but she didn't fight him either. Slowly, carefully, he helped her to her feet. She was lighter than she looked, and her steps were weak. He let her lean on him as they walked out of the alley. No one noticed them. People were busy with their own lives. No one saw the strange girl with glowing eyes and silver skin. No one cared, but Jake did. He took her to his small apartment on the edge of the city. It wasn't much, just one room, a small kitchen, and a couch that folded into a bed. But it was warm, and it was safe. He gave her dry clothes and a towel. She didn't speak, but she watched everything closely, like she was trying to learn. She didn't seem to understand much, but she copied his movements, drying her hair, eating. Noodles sitting on the bed. Jake sat across from her. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She looked at him, confused. He tapped his chest. "Jake," he said. Then he pointed to her. She looked down for a long time. Then she shook her head. "No name?" Jake said. "Okay. How about Nova?" He blinked, then looked up at him. "Nova," she said quietly. Her voice was soft and strange, like wind through leaves. Jake smiled. "Nova it is." He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know if he was making a huge mistake, but something about her. He couldn't just leave her. She was more than what she looked like. He felt it, as Nova lay down and fell asleep. On the couch, Jake cleaned up the dishes. He tried to act normal, but his mind was full of questions. Outside, high in the dark sky, a small black drone hovered silently. A red light blinked on its side as it zoomed in on the apartment window. The drone made no sound, but it recorded everything. The girl, the human, the small home. Then it flew away into the night. Jake didn't know it yet, but helping Nova had changed his life forever. The next morning, Jake woke up early. The rain had stopped, but the air was still cold. Sunlight came through the window, soft and gray. He looked toward the couch. Nova was still there, curled up in the blanket he gave her. She looked peaceful, almost like a sleeping child. But Jake knew she was not a child, and not from Earth. He quietly made breakfast, eggs and toast. The smell woke her. She sat up slowly, blinking at the light. Her silver hair was messy, and her big eyes looked around like she didn't know where she was for a moment. Then she saw Jake and her body relaxed. "Good morning," he said. Nova didn't answer, but she watched him. Jake placed a plate in front of her and sat down with his own. She copied what he did, using the fork and tasting the food. She still didn't speak much, but she was learning. After breakfast, Jake went to his desk. He fixed old electronics for work. Radios, fans, phones. Nova came closer and watched him. Her eyes followed every wire and tool. After a while, she picked up a broken speaker. Her fingers moved over it slowly. She touched the wires, closed her eyes, and the speaker lit up. Jake jumped. "Whoa." Nova looked at him, then at the speaker. It was fixed. The sound came through clearly, like brand new. Jake was shocked. "How did you do that?" Nova looked confused. "Fix," she said. "That's not normal," Jake whispered to himself. He stared at the speaker. Nova didn't just fix it. She had repaired it perfectly in seconds without tools. Jake knew then. Nova had powers. Outside, in a government building not far from the city, a man in a black suit looked at a screen. It showed video from a flying drone, grainy footage of Nova and Jake in the apartment. The man's face was serious. He pressed a button. "Send a scan team to Sector 12. We have something not human." Back in Jake's apartment, Nova stood near the window, looking at the sky. She seemed calm, but Jake noticed something. Her hands were shaking. She was scared. "Nova," Jake said gently. "Are you okay?" She turned to him slowly. Her voice was quiet. "Not safe." Jake stood up. "What do you mean?" Nova moved to the table and picked up a pen. She drew something on a piece of paper, fast with smooth lines. When she was done, Jake looked at the drawing. It was a map, not of Earth. It showed stars and planets, and Earth was circled in the middle. Jake stared. "What is this?" Nova pointed to the circle. "They come," she said. Her voice shook a little. "Bad ones." Jake felt a chill run through his body. "Who's coming?" Nova didn't answer. She sat down again, looking tired. Jake knew she had used a lot of energy. Fixing the speaker, maybe it hurt her. Later that day, Jake had to leave for a short time to buy supplies. He told Nova to stay hidden and locked the door. The streets were busy now, people walking fast, cars honking, city noise all around. But something felt off. Jake noticed a black van parked across the street from his building. It hadn't been there before. He walked past it and looked at the windows. Dark. No movement inside, but he could feel eyes watching him. When he got back home, he checked everything. Nova was safe, still quiet, still watching him, but she seemed more alert, like she sensed something too. That night, while Nova rested on the couch, Jake sat at his desk. He couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts ran through his head. Who was Nova really? Why was she here? Who were the ones coming? And why did the map show Earth in the center? He looked at her. She was small, strange, and quiet. But she had powers that didn't belong to Earth. And she trusted him. That meant something. Suddenly, Nova sat up straight. Her eyes glowed brighter for a second. "They near," she said. Jake ran to the window. He looked outside. The black van was gone. In the sky above the buildings, a drone hovered in the shadows, its red light blinking softly. Nova walked to the window and stared at it. She didn't look scared now. She looked angry. Jake looked at her. "Who are they, Nova? What do they want?" Nova turned her head slowly and whispered just one word. "Hunt." Jake felt his stomach turn. Something terrible was coming, and it was coming for her. But now Jake had made a choice. He would, though, not let them take her, not without a fight. The night was quiet, but not peaceful. Inside Jake's small apartment, Nova sat on the floor, drawing strange shapes on paper. Her eyes glowed a soft blue in the dark. Jake sat nearby, watching her. He couldn't sleep, not after what she said. Hunt. That word kept repeating in his mind. Nova wasn't just hiding. She was running from something. Something powerful. Something that wanted her back. Nova, he said softly. She looked up. You said they're coming. Who are they? Nova didn't answer right away. She looked at the window as if checking for danger. Then, slowly, she touched her shoulder and pulled her shirt down a little. Jake saw it. A mark burned into her skin. A black symbol shaped like a claw over a star. Nova pointed to the mark. They give this. Means I must not be free. Jake felt anger rise inside him. They did that to you? Nova nodded. Her voice was cold. I escaped. They want me back. Jake sat beside her. Why? What do they want from you? She looked down at her hands. I was made to fix things, heal things. But they changed me, turned my power into weapon. Jake stared at her. A weapon, she nodded again. Others like me, taken, used, broken. He felt a deep pain in his chest. Nova looked so young, so gentle, but she had suffered things no one should. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. You're safe now. I won't let them take you. Nova looked into his eyes. You're good, she said softly. Before Jake could speak, the lights flickered, then went out. Everything went dark. Jake grabbed a flashlight and stood up quickly. Stay here, he told Nova. He walked to the window and looked out. The entire street was black. No lights, no sound. Power was cut, and then a soft humming. High in the sky, Jake saw them. 3 dark drones floating above the buildings. Each one had red lights and strange shapes on their sides. They weren't normal drones. They moved too smoothly, too quietly. Jake stepped back from the window. They found us. Nova stood up. Her eyes were brighter now, glowing like stars. She didn't look scared. She looked ready. We run? Jake asked. Nova shook her head. Too late. Suddenly the door shook. Not a knock, a hit. Hard and loud. Boom. Jake's heart raced. He grabbed the small metal pipe he used for repairs. It was all he had. Nova stepped forward, lifted her hand toward the door, and light moved from her fingers. A soft blue wall of energy formed in front of them like a shield. The door broke open. 3 black-clad figures stepped inside. They wore helmets with glowing red eyes and no markings. Not police, not army, something else. They moved fast, but when they hit the shield, they stopped. The energy sparked. One of them pulled out a strange device and aimed it at Nova. Nova screamed, not in fear, but in power. The energy from her body pushed outward, throwing the men back into the hallway. The lights flickered again, and then exploded. Jake grabbed Nova's hand. We have to go now! They ran out the back door into the alley. Smoke rose behind them. Sirens began to wail in the distance, but it was too late for help. The ones chasing Nova didn't care about laws. They just wanted her. Nova. And Jake ran through the dark streets, hiding in shadows. Nova limped. Using her power had weakened her again. They found an old storage building and hid inside. Dust covered everything. Jake pulled down some boxes to block the door. Nova sat on the ground, breathing hard. Her eyes were dim now. I used too much, she whispered. Jake knelt beside her. Why didn't you tell me you had this power before? Nova looked at him with sad eyes. If I use too much, I lose myself. It hurts. Jake felt helpless. She had saved him, protected him, but it was killing her inside. You need help, he said. Someone who understands you. Maybe a doctor. Nova shook her head. No doctor. They'll take me too. Jake sat beside her, thinking. Then we need to find someone who knows about you. Someone who can help without hurting. Nova slowly pulled a small metal cube from her pocket. It had strange symbols on it, glowing softly. "This can show the truth," she said. "But I need time to charge it." Jake took her hand. "We'll find time. We'll find a way." Outside, the night air was still. But in the distance, more drones flew through the sky. The hunt was not over, but for the first time, Nova was not running alone. She had someone beside her, and together, they would fight back. The storage building was cold and dark. Jake found an old blanket and wrapped it around Nova. She was still weak. Her breathing was slow, and her silver skin looked pale. He sat beside her, holding the strange metal cube she had given him. It was smooth and cool. The symbols on it glowed softly, but they didn't move. Jake didn't know how it worked. He only knew one thing. This cube was important. Nova looked at him with tired eyes. "Need sunlight," she said. "It charges me. And the cube." Jake nodded. "We'll wait until morning. Then we find the sun." Nova closed her eyes, and soon she fell asleep. Jake didn't. He stayed awake, listening for any sound outside. He kept thinking about everything: the glowing drones, the black-suited men, Nova's powers, and the word she kept saying: weapon. The sky slowly turned orange and pink. Morning came. Jake gently touched Nova's shoulder. "Nova, it's time." She opened her eyes. The sunlight through the broken windows touched her face. Her skin seemed to glow again, just a little. She took a deep breath, and her hands stopped shaking. Jake smiled. "You're looking better." Nova sat up. The cube in his hand began to hum. The symbols glowed brighter. She took it from him and pressed her fingers on two symbols. The cube opened. A soft light floated out and formed a 3D image in the air. Jake stared in shock. It showed planets spinning slowly, and then zoomed in on one large ship orbiting a strange red world. A voice began to speak. Not Nova's voice. A recording. "This is Message Unit 14. Experiment Series NX3 has broken free. Warning to any species receiving this. Do not trust her. Do not protect her. Target is dangerous. Priority: capture or destroy." Jake's heart dropped. He looked at Nova. She didn't speak. She just watched the message play with a sad face. The image changed. It showed Nova, younger, thinner, her head shaved, eyes wide with fear. Wires were connected to her back. She was in a lab. Scientists, alien ones, moved around her. They tested her powers. They shocked her. They made her fix machines, stop weapons, bend metal with her mind. Every time she refused, they hurt her. Jake felt sick. The voice continued. "Project. Nova X is unstable. Her power core is too strong. Mind control failed. Memory wipe failed. She has escaped. If found, report to Central Command immediately." The light faded. The cube closed. Jake looked at her. "They made you? In a lab?" Nova nodded slowly. "Yes, I wasn't born, I was built. But I'm still alive, I think, I feel." Jake stood up and started pacing. "No wonder they're hunting you. You're not just an alien, you're proof. You're a weapon they lost control of." Nova's voice was small. "Do you still trust me?" Jake turned to her. "Of course I do." She looked surprised. "Even after what you saw?" Jake sat down next to her. "You're not a weapon to me. You saved my life. You care. You want freedom. That makes you more human than the people chasing you." Nova gave a small smile. It was the first time Jake saw her smile. But peace didn't last. A loud buzz filled the air. Outside, on the street, a black ship slowly landed. Not a drone. A full ship. Silent, smooth, and deadly. Jake and Nova ran to the back of the storage building. But it was too late. A team of 6 figures in dark armor moved in. One of them pointed a scanner at the building. "They're inside," he said. "Orders are capture only. Do not damage the unit," Jake whispered. "We have to move." Nova opened her hand and blue light flowed from her fingers. She touched the wall. The bricks shimmered, and then a hole appeared. Jake's eyes widened. "You can do that?" Only small tricks, she whispered. Big ones hurt. They ran through the hole and into the alley. The street was behind them, forest ahead, trees, a chance to hide. Alarms began to ring behind them. Go! Jake shouted. They ran into the trees, the forest cold and full of shadows. Nova moved fast now, stronger in the sunlight, but the ship lifted into the air and followed. Jake was out of breath, but he didn't stop. Nova turned and raised her hand. She formed a flash of light that blinded the drone. It crashed into the trees. More would come. We can't run forever, Jake said. Nova looked at him. Then we stop running. Jake blinked. What do you mean? She held out the cube again. If we reach the mountains, I can send a message. To others, not like them, like me. Some escaped too. Jake nodded. Then let's find them. The forest was quiet again, but both of them knew their old battle hadn't started yet. The forest was deep and full of shadows. Tall trees blocked the sun, and cold wind moved through the branches. Jake and Nova kept moving, stepping over roots and rocks. The ground was wet from last night's rain. Birds flew overhead. But there was no sound of drones. Not yet. We have to reach the mountains, Nova said. Jake looked around. How far? 2 days. If we keep walking, she said. Jake nodded. Then we walk. They didn't speak much after that. Jake could see. Nova was still weak. Using her powers took a lot from her. But she didn't complain. She just kept moving. By sunset, they found a small cave. It was dry inside and hidden by thick bushes. Jake started a small fire with some old branches. Nova sat down, leaning against the wall. Her eyes were tired. Jake gave her a piece of bread from his backpack. She took it with a quiet, "Thank you." Then she stared into the fire. Jake watched her. You said others like you escaped. Where are they? Nova was silent for a moment. Then she said, I don't know, we were in different cells, but some broke out before me. If they survived, they might be hiding on Earth too. Jake leaned back. So this message cube can call them? Nova nodded. It sends a signal only they can feel. If they're close, they will come. Jake looked at the stars through the trees. And if they don't? Nova's voice was soft. Then I'm alone. Jake turned to her. You're not alone. She looked at him, surprised again. Why do you care? Jake didn't answer right away. He looked down at the fire. Because I know what it's like to be forgotten, to feel like no one sees you. I was homeless once too. People walked past me every day, like I was nothing. Nova said nothing, but her eyes looked different now, softer. She understood. Suddenly the fire flickered. Nova sat up straight. Her eyes glowed. They're close, she said. They found us. Jake grabbed the fire and kicked dirt on it. Come on! They ran through the trees again. Behind them, a red light flashed in the sky. A drone. And it wasn't alone. 2 more followed. They're faster now, Jake said, breathing hard. Nova stopped. She raised her hand. A wave of energy shot from her fingers. Not strong, but just enough to scramble the drone's signal. One of them spun and crashed into a tree. The others kept coming. Jake pulled Nova forward. Don't waste your power. Save it for later. They ran downhill toward a river. The water was fast and cold. Nova didn't wait. She stepped in and crossed to the other side. Jake followed, almost slipping. Behind them, the drones stopped. They hovered on the riverbank, scanning, but they didn't cross. Jake looked back. Why aren't they following? Nova smiled a little. Water blocked some of their scanners. Smart. Very smart. They kept walking until they found another hiding place. A large rock shaped like an arch with space under it. They rested there for the night. Nova took out the cube again. It was glowing brighter now. Almost ready, she said. Jake nodded. Good. Let's hope someone answers. Nova placed the cube on the ground. The glow spread out in a circle, then faded. It's calling now, she whispered. Hours passed. The forest was quiet, then a soft sound, a low hum. Jake looked up. Do you hear that? Nova stood slowly. Her eyes were glowing brighter than ever. Yes, someone is coming. From the trees, a figure appeared, tall, thin, glowing blue skin, long arms, strange, soft eyes, not like the hunters, not like anyone Jake had seen. Nova stepped forward. "Luma," she said. The figure smiled. "Nova, you are alive." Jake stared. "You know her?" Luma nodded. "We escaped together, but we were separated." Nova looked at Jake. "This is one of my kind, not a weapon, a healer." Luma looked at Jake. "You helped her, protected her." Jake nodded. "She's not a weapon to me." Luma looked serious. "Then you must know. The ones who hunt us, they are not just coming for her. They are coming for Earth too." Jake's heart dropped. "Why?" "Because Earth helped her hide. That is enough to make it a target." Nova stepped forward. "Then we have to stop them." Luma looked at the cube. "We'll need more help. There are others. If we gather them, we might have a chance." Jake looked at Nova. "Then let's find them. All of them." Nova smiled. Not sad this time, but full of hope. The next morning came with soft light through the trees. Birds sang in the distance, but something felt different. Hope, Jake, Nova, and Luma stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at a wide valley. The land was quiet, green, and full of places to hide. Luma pointed. "There, that cave system. Others may be hiding there. I felt their signals, but weak." Nova looked at Jake. "We need to go." Jake nodded. "Then let's find them before the hunters do." They climbed down carefully. It took most of the day. At sunset, they reached the first cave. The entrance was hidden by vines and large stones. Luma touched a rock near the side, pressing 3 fingers on a symbol carved into it. The rock moved. A soft blue light glowed from inside. Nova stepped in first. Jake followed. Inside, the air was warm, quiet. Then, from the shadows, 2 more aliens stepped forward. One had golden skin and 4 arms. The other was small and glowing faint green. They both looked surprised when they saw Nova. "You survived," the gold one said. Nova nodded. "So did you." Jake looked at them. "How many are here?" the green one answered. 6, including us. All escaped years ago. We've been hiding, afraid to send signals." Luma stepped forward. "It's time to stop hiding. They are already here. They hunt Nova, but they will hurt Earth too. We must fight back." The group was silent for a moment. Then the golden one said, "Fight? With what? We have no weapons. We are not warriors." Jake, I stepped up. "You don't need to be. You're survivors, that's enough, and you have me and other humans." Nova looked at him. "Other humans?" Jake nodded. "I have friends. One of them works with satellites, another runs a small tech group. They're not soldiers, but they're smart. They believe in doing the right thing." The golden alien smiled. "Then maybe it's time." Over the next 2 days, the cave became a camp. Jake helped set up power lines using old batteries. Nova and Luma recharged the cube and used it to send short messages, safe and coded. A few signals returned. Others were listening. Jake sent a message to his friend Kara, a former space agency engineer. She arrived by night with a small drone and a pack of supplies. "When you said alien girl, I thought you were joking," she whispered when she saw Nova. Nova just smiled. "Hello," Kara stared. "She talks," Jake laughed. "She fights too." Kara looked serious. "If they're coming, we need a plan." They made one. Nova would lead the other escaped aliens to a hidden area in the mountains. There, they could create a strong signal to call more of their kind, hidden across Earth. Luma would protect them. Jake, Kara, and 2 of her hacker friends would build traps and block the enemy drones from tracking them. They also planned to send false signals, confuse the hunters, but the hunters were already searching. One night, a loud sound shook the forest. A ship landed near the valley. This one was bigger than the last. Its engines burned the trees around it. Jake looked through binoculars. "They're setting up a base." Nova looked calm. "Then we must act now." Luma handed her a small glowing crystal. "This will boost your signal, but it can only be used once." Nova took it. "Understood." As night fell again, the team moved out. Nova and the others headed toward the mountain pass. Jake and Kara stayed behind to slow down the hunters. The first drone came at midnight. Kara used a hacked signal to freeze it mid-air. Jake hit it with a metal rod, smashing it to the ground. "Nice," she said, but more were coming. In the mountains, Nova placed the crystal into the cube. Light shot into the sky, soft and silent, but powerful. A pulse moved through the stars. A call deep and far. "Message sent," she whispered. In the valley, the hunter ship lit up. It had felt the signal. "They know," Jake said. "They're coming." Nova turned toward the stars. "So are we." Above them, in the dark sky, 3 new lights blinked. But they were not drones, they were answers. Others had heard the call. The sky above the mountains was dark, but 3 glowing lights slowly moved through the clouds. They were not enemy ships. They moved with grace, not power. They came with peace, not war. Nova stood on the edge of a cliff, the cube still glowing, in her hands. Jake stood beside her. "Are they your people?" Nova nodded. They heard the signal. They came. The other escaped aliens came out from the caves, their eyes wide. Luma stepped forward and raised her hand. The ships moved lower, almost silent, then hovered above the ground. One ship opened. 3 tall beings stepped out. They looked like Nova. Same silver-blue skin, glowing eyes, peaceful faces. They spoke in a soft tone, their voices full of light. Nova bowed her head. "Thank you for coming." The lead figure spoke gently. "You are not forgotten, Nova. We have watched from afar, but now we act." Jake stepped forward. "We need help. The hunters are setting up a base. They want Nova, and maybe Earth too." The alien leader looked at him. "And you, a human, protected her." Jake nodded. "She's not a weapon, she's a person. She deserves to live free." The leader smiled. "Then Earth may yet have hope." Suddenly, a loud boom shook the mountain. A black enemy ship appeared. Flying low and fast, it dropped 6 metal drones that spread out toward the caves. Jake turned to Nova. "It's starting." Nova stood tall. "Then we end it." The peaceful aliens moved quickly. One pulled out a round device. It floated and created a shield over the cave. Another raised their hand and sent out a wave of soft energy that made the enemy drones. "Slow down." Nova stepped forward, holding the cube like a torch. "No more running." She raised her free hand. Blue light shot from her fingers, striking one of the drones. It sparked and crashed. The golden alien joined her. Using 2 arms, he lifted a heavy rock and smashed another drone. Luma used her healing energy in reverse, sending waves of pressure to push the attackers back. Kara and her hacker friends used their drones to block enemy signals. "We're jamming them," she shouted, but the enemy ship fired a red beam. It hit near the cave, sending rocks flying. Jake was thrown to the ground. Nova ran to him. "Jake," he coughed and smiled. "Still here." The enemy ship circled again. A voice came from it. Cold. Robotic. "Surrender the unit, or Earth will burn." Nova stood up and shouted toward the ship. "I am not a unit. I am not your tool." She closed her eyes. The cube in her hand glowed brighter than ever. The crystal. Inside it began to spin. Light poured from it into the sky. The enemy ship aimed its weapons. Jake shouted, "Now, Nova! Do it now!" Nova raised the cube high and screamed. A giant wave of light burst out, like a pulse of energy, not of fire, but truth. It covered the whole mountain, the valley, and even the enemy ship. The ship shook, its systems failed. The drones dropped. The ship fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the trees far below. Silence. The light faded. Nova fell to her knees. "It's done," she whispered. Jake ran to her and held her. "You did it." The peaceful aliens gathered around. The leader stepped forward. "The signal you sent, it reached more than just us. It reached others across the galaxy. It told them what was done to you. It told the truth." Nova looked up. "Then maybe others like me will be free." Jake smiled. "You just saved more than yourself." The leader looked at Jake. "And You, human, stood by her when no one else would. You remind us that even a single voice can change a world. Jake shrugged. She changed mine too. The aliens helped take down what was left of the enemy base. The peaceful ones offered Nova a place with them, among the stars. But she looked at Jake. I think I want to stay, for now. Jake smiled. We still have a lot to fix here. Nova nodded. Together, Luma, the golden alien, and the others began building a small camp, not to hide, but to start again. A place where humans and aliens could learn from each other. As the stars came out, Nova and Jake sat near a small fire. She looked up. I was just a weapon to them, just a thing. But you saw me. Jake smiled. You were never a weapon, you were just waiting for someone to see you. Nova smiled too. A real smile this time. One full of light. Far above, in the sky, new, lights blinked into view. Not ships of war, but messengers of peace. And Earth would never be the same again. The end.